Well, yeah, even Prince Harry, when he spoke before
Yeah.
the United
Halos
Nations,
walang tao rin.
parang nilangaw rin yung
Yes.
gallery. But, when you're saying that there's a mission and evasion, etc.,
Right.
couldn't it just have been also a case of him being diplomatic? I mean, this is classic diplomacy, the
Right.
a friend to all and an enemy to none kind of thing.
Yeah, actually, the friend to all and enemy to none. I'm right. I just finished a book on Southeast Asia. Actually, the Singaporeans. It's a Singaporean thing. So probably we should give credit more to Singaporean foreign ministry when we use those terms too. Na hindi actually originally sa atin yan. Now going back to this this issue. No, I think it's really part of President Marcos' whole unity theme, right? Many people made fun of the whole unity discussion during the election, saying it's vacuous motherhood statements. But in fairness, he embodies that in his major addresses and speeches over the past 2 to 3 months, diba? Whether it's an inauguration speech, whether it's a State of the Nation address, and now in the United Nations, we see him really trying not to be Duterte, in a sense that, remember with President Duterte, like he would attack always one side and then openly take side with the other side, right? We don't see any of that polarization. He's like the detoxification kind of a master here. Of course, the baggage of the Marcos is still there. Of course, issues with accountability are there. But whenever he's given the platform, you can see a conscious effort by him, his speechwriter, whoever they are behind his speeches, to make sure that he doesn't press the hot buttons and keep himself above the fray. In fact, I want to call him the Mr. Above the Fray. He always tries to put himself above the fray and say, I'm here embodying the dignity of the Philippine state. And by the way, let's not forget, what's very consistent in all his speeches is this. It's the economy, stupid, right? To get the phrase from the Clinton campaign in 1990s, right? Economics is very much at the center of discussion, whether it's a New York Stock Exchange, even his in UN speech, in one way or another, he talks about agricultural development, food self-sufficiency. So the issue of development economics seems to be constantly the central theme of his addresses wherever in the world. Even dun nasa Singapore siya and Indonesia, ganun din nakikita natin. So he's Mr. Economics too, for that matter. Not only above the fray, but also Mr. Economics. Now, so far, maybe that's going to help him. Let's see the approval rating, popularity ratings. I expect it to be pretty 67% at least. But it seems this is the safe approach that he's taking, and so far he seems to be comfortable with it.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because let's also remember candidate Bongbong Marcos, his initial instinct was to precisely try to stay above the fray. There was really no position when he was a candidate until a week later they had to take a harder stance. But anyway, I want to take it back to the other theme of the day, martial law. Again, taking off from your point of the style and one particular character of Mr. Marcos, of avoiding conflict and so on. But if that's the strategy, if that's the worst of it, and that's a big if, we will grant. Yeah. But if that's the worst of it, which is basically he avoids the uncomfortable conversations about corruption, about the plunder of his parents, about human rights victims, and so on, and does not necessarily lead into the, never mind his sister, never mind everybody else speaking in civic space and so on. But if that's the worst of it, where do you think this might potentially bring any conversation, whether he engages or not, on the hashtag move on versus hashtag never forget?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, my proxies, they're always proxies. Could be family members, could be, influencers, bloggers. Those proxies are very active. Let's not forget that. So he can afford to be above the fray because others can do the job, right? There's that aspect. The other aspect is once in a while, actually, we saw him. He dropped some statements. So if you look at his first quote-unquote interview as a president, was it Tony Gonzaga or something? Right? I mean, he mentioned about his father's legacy and tried to carry the baton for his father, right? So there was an effort. But hindi niya pinainit masyado nung dumating yung martial law anniversary. So you could see he has that approach. So there are proxies. Sometimes he comes in, but he comes out. So meron siyang ganon. But yun nga, like, I think much also will depend on the opposition. We don't talk about her as much, but Leni Robredo is still kind of the leader of the opposition, and she's also in the U.S., right? So that's strange. Both the president and the de facto leader of opposition, they're both in the U.S. Lenny so far has been quite quiet, but I think if Lenny or the opposition in general crystallizes into a much more forceful anti-Marcos movement, then I don't think you can stay above the fray. Then I think you have to really come out and the gloves are off. That's not happening now, I think, because we're still in the honeymoon period, but you're absolutely right. I don't expect the situation to be the same next year, especially if Lenny and the opposition up the game and put more pressure on the Marcoses on a number of fronts, right? And then